Hello, and welcome to Teletran Tapes, a monthly show devoted to discussing Skybound's ongoing Transformers comics series, as well as any other pertinent Energon universe happenings. I'm Moon from Moonbase 3, and with me are the usual suspects, Delta Trion, Swizz Prime, and Carl from Carl's Collection. The gang's all here, reunited at last, and as a quick heads up, be aware that we will be discussing events from current and previous issues in depth, so consider this your spoiler warning. And with that out of the way, guys, I feel like right now is a great time to talk about Transformers comics. We just got the Energon Universe 2025 special, as well as the first hardcover volume of Transformers, and we've got the newest issue, Transformers number 20, which I don't want to speak for everyone here, but I think has left a pretty positive impression on all of us. But how are you guys doing, and how are you coping with this flood of Transformers comics merch?
It's not enough. I need more. I want more. I want Skybound posters.
That is the correct
I want Skybound
answer.
T-shirts. I want Skybound leggings. I want it all. Everything.
John Hasbro is pleased.
I want a Skybound utensil.
I want 15 versions of the same book. That's what I want.
Yes.
Oh, you're going to get it. Okay, so let's go ahead and touch on some cursory information for issue number 20. The issue was published on May 14th, 2025, and it was written by Daniel Warren Johnson with Jorge Corona on art, Mike Spicer on colors, and Rus Wooton providing the lettering. The solicit for the issue reads, "What's next for Optimus Prime? The Autobots revive a group of allies who could change the tide of their war with the Decepticons, but they don't know who or what is coming for them." This issue features key first appearances of fan-favorite characters from the worlds of Transformers and G.I. Joe. Now, before we start breaking this down page by page, what are your quick reactions to the issue as a whole?
The boys are back in town. That's all I can say.
Wow. I mean, it's just, wow. This issue is awesome.
Yes, if I had to sum up my thoughts when I got this comic, I put it down and I had a little tear in my eye. And I said this in my video on my channel. I don't collect single issue comics just because my comic shop is pretty far away from me. I took time out of my workday to go buy a copy of this issue because I think that it was just so fantastic.
And oddly enough, I usually get them on release day, and just due to some scheduling stuff, I've yet to pick up my physical copy, and it's like killing me because I want to hold this issue and look at it in person because it agreed.
So you just read it digitally then?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, same with me. I bought a digital copy and hopefully be picking up my physical copy soon. But yeah, for me, I usually read these issues multiple times, but there's usually a gap between when I do that. But this one, as soon as I finished it, I just immediately went back to the beginning and just started it over. I just read it again right away because, yeah, what a great issue.
Yeah, it's the kind of stuff where it moves on all fronts, and I did the same thing. I mean, it wasn't right away. I read it, when it released after midnight on after Tuesday night, into Wednesday, and then I read it again Wednesday morning. I was like, man, this issue, I was dying to go back to it.
Yeah,
I feel like something that is constantly talked about Daniel Warren Johnson's writing, and he said it multiple times, is that a Daniel Warren Johnson story has to have heart. And this is not to say that the previous couple of issues from the series don't have heart, but this one, to me, really did kind of... It felt almost like a volume 1 issue. It just had so much heart to it, and it felt almost like a warm blanket being put around you. There was a comfort to this issue, and also some pretty scary moments, but there was such comfort to it for me.
I think a lot has to do with the Optimus stuff that we got in this. That type of Optimus is a characterization we haven't seen as much of, that side of him in a very long time in the series. So to get those moments, I agree wholly that it felt like like vintage Skybound Transformers.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I know in the past I've maybe criticized the comic here and there for almost feeling a little too bloated, that there was a little too many characters, and I was worried certain things were going to get lost. And it's funny that just as the time arose that I started saying those things, they released this issue, and every single one of my concerns was just put to rest. I read this digitally and put my phone down and was like, nope, never mind, I was wrong. They have got this in the bag. Not that my faith was ever gone completely, but there's just a tiny little bit of me that was like, I'm a little worried. But no, I hate to say we're back, because that makes it sound like it was over. It was never over, but we're just back, I think, even better than we ever were.
Yeah, I think something that you said about how it feels like something from the first 6 issues. This is something that we'll, probably talk about later when we get into that scene more in depth, but where we get just Spike and Optimus just talking to each other, like, I think that is the first time that we've really gotten that with like this much meat on the bone since issue 2. So
yeah, I think you're right.
So yeah, it definitely feels like it's harkening back to, I don't know if I want to say like the golden age of, because I think the series has consistently been good, but that those first 6 issues were that's where I just really fell in love with the series. So left a big impression on me for sure.
I think it's indicative of what Johnson is doing as far as just painting this big picture and this big arc. So having these moments that remind us from earlier on in the run, it's just going to make it for that much more of a satisfying read. Once it's never going to be a complete piece of work because it's an ongoing series. But when we take a step back and look at his 24 issue run, you're going to see those kind of things and those connective threads throughout, and it just is going to bring it all together. I can only assume that's how we're going to look at it once this is all said and done.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think to further talk about the issue, we should probably start getting into some more specifics. So without further ado, let's start digging into the story. And obviously the place we're going to start is the beginning, but specifically the first 4 pages. That's where we pick up immediately following the cliffhanger ending of issue 18, because we jumped back in time for issue 19. So we're back in the present day. We're in Seattle. The Autobots have retreated, or they are retreating off panel. We're focused on the Decepticons here. And the Decepticons are about to give chase when Astrotrain challenges Megatron, which leads into this amazing fight sequence atop this city skyscraper. It starts off with Astrotrain taking his shot, laying into Megatron with everything he has, millions of years of pent-up rage and anger at Megatron, ending his love, which we still don't really know what that is yet. We get a return of the iconic, I'm going to say it's iconic, choo-choo moment.
Yes.
Yeah, so Astrotrain just lays into him, but Megatron, unimpressed. He just says, my turn, and then just proceeds to mop the floor with Astrotrain. There's a lot of good moments here. The one that I'll bring up specifically is when he wraps the chain of his Energon mace around Astrotrain's neck and just kind of dangles him over the side of the skyscraper. For me, that was just a huge highlight, and he drops Astrotrain off of the skyscraper. And throughout this whole fight, like, we're getting a sense of Megatron's power, his strength, because he is still damaged. He's missing his eyes. He's missing an arm. We're getting a sense of his physical prowess, but we're also getting kind of a glimpse into his personality and his demeanor. We've definitely touched on this before. We've seen it before. We've gotten snippets, but I feel like this is our first proper introduction to the character. And as he's just ripping into Astrotrain, he's just delivering what is essentially this monologue that personally I read it in a pretty like calm and measured voice. There's a lot of periods here. There are no exclamation points with like anything that he's saying. But the highlight of that whole speech is at the end when he is pinning Astrotrain down. He says, "You were pathetic then, you're pathetic now, a stain on what it means to be a Decepticon." So I think this is just a great look at who Megatron is in this universe. And my question to you guys is, how did this land for you? Like, what did you make of this whole sequence?
Oh man, I think this was, I think this is probably like my favorite part of the whole book, and it just starts because Megatron's proving a point. Well, this part and the end part, because it's all about proving a point. It's showing who's the boss, and it's more so towards the end when we see that part. But I love how cold this version of Megatron is. Like he has so many good lines, and like you pointed out, he has no eyes, doesn't even have his fusion cannon arm, but just still takes Astrotrain to church like it's nothing. Like he tanks these hits from Astrotrain like it's nothing. Like it's insane the amount of aura that this guy has in this series, and it's amazing because he should be this powerful. He should have this much presence to him, and it's a great start to this volume by showing that. So I really love this whole fight. Rest in peace, Astrotrain, though.
Even like you're talking about Megatron taking those hits. When the choo choo moment happens, in that panel, it looks like there's more damage done to Astrotrain than Megatron. And that's it just again speaks to the power of not just the physical presence of Megatron, but just the sheer tank that he is. But yeah, this sequence was phenomenal. Like I think Moon, you mentioned it maybe in your video about the I love this too, the transition of showing the momentum that Astrotrain is getting by changing his alt mode, hopping backwards, transforming into the shuttle, and then ramming into him again, transforming, and then it looks like the kick to the face. I thought that was like a brilliant use of action. But yeah, the fact that Megatron is it's a making a point to Astrotrain, but also making a point to everybody else that's there. It's like, hey, like this is I'm back. It's his way of establishing. He shows up in 18 and just says enough, and then here, again he shows that do not mess with me. I am in charge. There is no question. And that's it. It's like that's the punctuation statement that he's making to everyone else, let alone beating the crap out of Astrotrain.
He even like tells Soundwave to back off. Like, no, he's challenged me. Like, I'm tired of people saying, I might as well get this out of the way now. I'm tired of people saying this version of Megatron isn't an honorable guy. Like obviously he's a Decepticon. He's a bad guy, but the fact that he's telling Soundwave no, and that he's honoring the challenge that Astrotrain, this one-on-one, it's great stuff. It's great because he could have easily had, Soundwave, the Constructicons, everyone else. All right, guys, let's go jump Astrotrain. But no, he respects the 1v1, and it just this fight wasn't even close because Astrotrain transforming and doing all that using momentum, it's great. It's drawn perfectly, but it's nothing for Megatron.
Does nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Being able to see Swizz, like you were saying, Megatron, in this moment, accepting the challenge, and alluding even more into what we've heard Thundercracker talk about, this being their way of life, is so awesome, especially with the added information that we have in the letter section. And I won't go too far into it, but just that Daniel Warren Johnson, says that Megatron obviously has this kind of honor system to him. I think it's a even closer look into what Decepticon culture is. While, we all agree there's still the bad guys, we're not going to get that twisted. They have a way to their life that is obviously, rules to live by. And not everybody
there's a code.
is living by them. Right. Right. And Megatron's return is not just, it is obviously a physical thing, but it's almost a return to form of what the Decepticons were. Obviously, he's showing up. And you can imagine, if your dad shows up and he's severely disappointed in you. That's probably what this is like. Everyone's like, "Oh crap, we gotta fall back in line," which we'll see later. I know with
everyone spread out.
Constructicons. yeah. We're yeah. He's the dad coming home. I didn't do it. He did it.
Blame it on your brother.
Absolutely,
he did it.
Yes, yeah. But I would agree with you, Swizz. I am a little tired of seeing people saying that this Megatron has no honor.
Yeah,
here's thinking,
no honor.
This is the most honorable Megatron I think we've ever gotten, at least in my recent knowledge. And I just think that it's a wonderful take on the character that also still allows him to be this brutal revolutionist that can just kick the crap out of you because that's part of his honor code and he's gonna do it. So if you challenge him, he's like, okay, yeah, I'll challenge you back. You're gonna die. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
You best bring it. You can try. It's not gonna end well for you.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it.
I love that that's where we're getting those moments now where there's been hints of Megatron's characterization throughout various like Cobra Commander and like up till now, but we're finally seeing that in action and in the present storyline. We're actually seeing his moral code in action, and there's no question. Put that debate to bed. This man or this Transformer is a being of honor.
I'm confused where that idea even comes from, like within the text, like everything that we have. Is there like something that I'm not thinking of or something that I'm missing that suggests that he is not honorable?
I can tell you exactly why. It's because of the flashback issue in Volume 3 on how, because people run with the idea like, oh, well, he controls people's minds, executes these Autobots. And it's like, it's much more than that. Like, yes, he can, control the user with his gun mode, but that whole scene where he makes Starscream the executioner, he literally offers those Autobots to join. Like he compliments them as warriors. And a lot of people just miss that. They just, he's forcing Starscream, and you're just clearly just moving the goalpost.
You missed it.
It's
yeah.
And that's not hinted at. It's talked about here. It's the only reason he's doing this to Astrotrain is because he's like, you clearly are not, not joining a team. You're not going to, you're not on board with what we're doing here. And if you're not on board with us, then you're against us and you're expendable and you can go. Exactly. So it's him doing that again. Yep. So
it makes you really wonder if Megatron has this honor code, what Astrotrain did in the first place to be locked up with enough energon to survive for however long it was. You think, man, he must have really screwed up the honor code. Obviously, something to do with his lover, but man, he's really got a
find
bad
out in
rap
issue
with
25.
but the other thing is he gave him energon. Like he didn't kill him. He was like, hey, you need to think about you go to your room.
You're in timeout. Go to your room.
Exactly.
That's a good point. Like, honestly, I think that is maybe what led me to believe that, maybe Megatron was going to not let it slide necessarily, but that he was going to keep Astrotrain around. Because, at the end of this sequence, he says, I still have use for you. And we find out later what that use is, and it is not keeping Astrotrain around.
It's a great use.
It's not giving him another thousands of years to contemplate his actions.
But he's got these acts that are like these acts of punishment, but they're, with the exception of Astrotrain in this issue, they're not always final. Like he gives the Decepticons chances, like multiple chances.
Yep.
And I think I just think it's an interesting way to approach the character. I guess I can kind of see where these people are coming from that are saying that he doesn't have honor. I don't agree with it. I think that whole thing with him like mind controlling Starscream, that's just like a whole other layer of how like his philosophy on life and how much of a tyrant he is. And I think that's like a separate issue of how he behaves and his code and all of that, like his physical prowess and all of that. So
yeah, you can still be honorable, but it doesn't change the fact that you have flaws, you know, like and that's the perfect example here. He has a code, obviously, but doesn't mean he's perfect. No, he's still the bad guy.
Yeah, having a code doesn't mean that you're a good person. You know, it's not necessarily a good code. You know, it's like, I mean, this isn't. I wouldn't say that this is like behavior to model in terms of, you know, conflict resolution. This whole stuff with Astrotrain, you know, it's like this is, you know, this isn't how we do things in a society. So
you don't see Optimus Prime, you know, writing it down, saying, "Oh, that's a good use. I'm gonna do that to Beachcomber."
You know, maybe he has a point. Maybe he has a point. You know. Anyway, we will circle back around to Megatron because he's a big part of this book. For now, though, we should probably get to the next section, which personally I'm excited to talk about. I don't know how you guys feel about this section. I am looking forward to seeing what you guys think. But we cut to an unidentified military installation, but based on one of the characters here with the tan uniform and the green glasses, it's pretty clear that we're dealing with G.I. Joe, even though it's not explicitly named as such. That's where the little teaser in the solicit came in, where they mentioned fan favorite character for both Transformers and G.I. Joe. So we're getting the first appearance of Doc in the Energon universe. Pretty cool that he first shows up in the pages of Transformers. And we kind of get this little interaction between him and this private, and they're just kind of discussing progress of a project that is not immediately clear what's going on this first page. They have a little back and forth. Then Doc knocks some stuff off the desk, and the private goes to help him gather all the papers, the files, and everything, and he picks up a Bible. And he hands all of the stuff back to Doc because Doc's secondary specialty in the original G.I. Joe fiction was a chaplain's assistant. So it's kind of drawing on the history of the character there. And what this part leads to, I think, is just a nice little moment where the private talks about how he's a brother who is on the USS Henry Harrison, which is the ship that Soundwave and Thundercracker sank several issues back, and he hasn't heard from him. And in the face of all of this unknown stuff that's happening with the Cybertronians, he's scared. And then we flip the page, and we get this amazing image of the two men in front of this giant observation room with Ultra Magnus strapped into the wall with these clamps. He's got like this muzzle on him, and the private is asking Doc, "Will you pray for me?" And then we cut to Doc, and Doc says, "I don't do that anymore, son. That part of me is long gone." And I love this moment just because it's a glimpse into G.I. Joe and how they're feeling about this whole thing, how the Transformers being on Earth has just kind of rewritten the rules of being human in the universe and like what that means. And also, you know, it's great to, even if it's just incrementally, move the Ultra Magnus plot along. I'm interested to hear what all of you have to say. I know that Carl is more into G.I. Joe, like I am, than Swizz and Delta. So I'd actually like to hear from Swizz and Delta first to see what you guys made of this section.
I feel like we're getting called out.
Yeah,
Most definitely.
being put on the spot here. Okay, so I'll be the first to admit I had no idea who these guys were. Like I was just like, oh, okay, she's these two soldiers talking, and we see Ultra Magnus. I think it's a cool little interaction, and I really like what you said. Like it makes everyone on Earth, especially the GI Joes, like really concerned now, and changes their view on everything. And I really feel bad for Ultra Magnus. He's like a bad dog. He's like just got this muzzle on, these clamps. It's just also where's Carly?
Good question. Good question.
Yeah.
I admittedly am not as tied into G.I. Joe at the moment. I started to read Duke under great pressure from Carl and Moon. And I do plan on collecting the hardcover books. It's kind of what I'm waiting for. It got me excited to see, like you said, a little bit of movement with Ultra Magnus. But it also excited me in ways because for me, these are characters that I don't know. And so for me, as somebody who's not as familiar with G.I. Joe, having these new characters brought in for me is almost kind of like a loaded gun. I don't know what's going to happen. And so it's cool to see characters that I don't already have kind of a preset idea in my head. You know, when different Transformers characters pop up, I'm like, oh, I know what this character is like. And not that there's differences that have been made from the past, but having these G.I. Joe characters for me is like having brand new characters introduced just because I don't know about their, you know, pre-connected history. And as much as I do sometimes dog on, you know, cinematic universes and these ideas that everything has to be interconnected, it is fun to see bits and pieces of the different stories in the Energon universe popping up here and there. I think it's done in a very smart and tasteful way. It's not, you know, bashing
it's really
you
not
over the
very
head
invasive.
with anything. Yes, and that's what I love about it. You know, and I understand, like, from volume 1 when Duke showed up, I was like, whoa, that was awesome. I know that Duke is one of the main G.I. Joe characters. That was really cool. But it's not like every single Transformers issue he's popping up in the background. I was like, okay, we had his moment. That makes me want to read the comic, and now we're moving on. So just having more of it, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, it humanizes. I like what they're doing with the G.I. Joe side of things because, given the context of, like you said, Moon, with the Transformers and on Earth, it's you question everything. It's like the pecking order just changed overnight. You know, so to have these characters have that realization, I think it's a great way to introduce Doc. I think Doc is like the one of the best characters to have in this scene. Now, because he questions his faith, because he's a pacifist. I mean, a side note, immediately made me start like theorizing, like, when are Beachcomber and Doc gonna go on a mission together? And like, anyway, so it immediately got me thinking about that. But to have that pacifist character, to have him show that he is questioning his faith, show him that he's still you know, he's carrying around the Bible, so it's not like he's given up on everything, but he is questioning things. And I think it's you don't need to know that that's a G.I. Joe character to get that information out of this scene.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I think where it works the best. You know, those of us that know that it's Doc, know the history of the character, we're rewarded for knowing that, but those that don't are not punished for not knowing it.
Mm.
And I think that's the brilliance of what they're doing here.
So, Carl, let me ask you, because maybe you remember better than I do. Did Doc's spirituality come up that much in previous fiction with G.I. Joe?
It's nothing that I immediately remembered, and I don't know if that's just because I was such a younger age when I was, you know, digesting all of this content that maybe that spiritual aspect of it is not something that I at that time latched onto. But yeah, it's not nothing that I can remember. In that I remember him being like a pacifist and you know, being there to to heal the wounded and that kind of stuff. But I didn't remember anything about questioning his faith. So it made me think like, oh, this is another interesting layer of Doc that I was not aware of.
Follow-up question with how you feel about Beachcomber. Was Doc always your favorite G.I. Joe character, or?
I always liked Doc. And I was a weird kid because I liked action figures that were just like guys in suits for some reason, and like Doc always had that kind of like just like kind of like jumpsuit kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Not an especially exciting action figure, but also when I was playing with Star Wars figures, I liked the Imperial guys because they were just like they're in these like cool suits. I can't explain it. I don't know, but I did always like Doc because he had a clear role. He was the medic. He was the one who patched everybody up. And as a kid playing GI Joe and GI Joe Cobra, you need that. You need that in your head canon. So yeah, I did always like Doc.
Yeah, he's kind of, the design is kind of plain, but I do think that it really works and like it holds up, like it endures. Like I never had Doc, like the figure. I had Lifeline, which of the two, it's funny. I have more of a nostalgic connection because of the toy to Lifeline, but I think Doc is the more memorable design and just like the better design. Yeah. So just funny how that works. But yeah, no, I agree. Like it's having the medical doctor. You got to have that with like your GI Joe team.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
No.
No. I mean, no. Sorry.
So I forgot to bring this up, but I actually recently watched the GI Joe movies. They were terrible, by the way.
Did you the animated one or the live action ones?
The live action one. I watched the one with Channing Tatum, and then the second one with Dwayne Johnson. They were terrible. That was very hard to watch, and I have no idea what GI Joe really is. And I knew that was really bad.
Eyes movie.
Yeah, my brother told me to watch that, and I was like, I don't know if I can do that, man.
Don't, please don't.
But
I didn't even watch the Snake Eyes movie.
I still haven't seen it. Yeah, I have seen those first two live action ones.
Me too.
Yeah, and I'll put them on for fun, and if I don't need to pay a lot of close attention to what I'm watching, but they're not my favorite. Don't think that is what GI Joe is all about, Swizz. So
okay, yeah, because I have like really no knowledge on GI Joe, obviously, except for the original show and the commercials of knowing is half the battle, GI Joe, all that. So my question is how much of a important character is Doc? Like, because I have no idea who he was until literally now.
Maybe Carl can answer this better, but my memory, I feel like he was bigger in the cartoon, like he was more prominent in the cartoon and less in the Marvel comic, but maybe I'm misremembering.
Yeah, I from what I remember in now this is where my memory gets fuzzy because Doc died. Did he die in the movie or did he die in the comics? I don't remember because it's been a long time since I've seen the animated G.I. Joe movie. I've been meaning to circle back to that, but
I don't remember. But I thought the only person that quote unquote died in the G.I. Joe movie was Duke.
Yeah,
but
that's so it must have been the comic.
Yeah.
So that's why the Doc was always an important character in the comic then because of his death. Not just solely because of that, but he was used as a representation of the stakes of what they were up against, and you need characters to die like in war.
Yeah, like Huffman.
So Doc, yeah, but Doc, he was out there in the field, and he went to like, and again, I don't. It's been a very long time since I've read that, but he was out in the field and he went to like rescue somebody, and then he gets killed. So I've always had this respect for Doc because of his sacrifice, and so maybe that it does speak to a similar pacifist nature of the character, but just because of the sacrifice that he made for the good of others. But yeah, that's probably why in the comics you don't really remember as much.
That's cool. I think that's really cool.
Bottom line, like we said, don't judge G.I. Joe by the movies. Judge it with Eco Force and Ninja. Yeah,
movies are great.
But
I know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, no, that they're just bad. But I will say this as yeah, not to going off on another G.I. Joe tangent, but I think the people that are reading Transformers, the best thing you could get out of G.I. Joe is the human side of things. Yes, we've got Spike and Carly who are right there in the thick of it. But the larger sense of what's going on in the Energon universe, to get the human reaction, you do get the G.I. Joe side of things, because it is about interpersonal relationships and what these characters are going through and how they're taking advantage of the technology that's available to them. And then there's Duke trying to get answers of what's going on. So that's the best thing you can get out of reading the G.I. Joe side of the Energon universe.
And it's not like Transformers has ever had a bad movie. So
what do you mean by that?
I think we should move on.
What are you implying?
What's on the next page again? Oh, Transformers.
But seriously, since this is an issue of Transformers, we should probably not dwell on this 2-page appearance of Doc and stop trying to brainwash Swizz and Delta. We'll let Skybound do that with the hardcovers when they come out. But the next part of issue 20 cuts to the Autobot side of things, and we go to the Ark, and we pick up with Optimus and Spike standing on the Ark, looking out, watching the sun go down, and the subject of Carly being kidnapped comes up. And I love how this interaction is handled. You can almost imagine that the subject came up, or there was an argument that happened before this, because it's never explicitly brought up about going to rescue Carly. But Optimus just kind of answers this unspoken question by saying that their forces are spread too thin, and Megatron is back, and he's going to be coming soon as he gets the Decepticons in line, so they have to be prepared. And, Spike is he is understanding about that. This is just kind of a beautiful moment where, again, he doesn't push the rescue option or anything, but, he says that Carly is basically the only family that he has left now. And that leads into a discussion about Sparky, and I feel like this is definitely setting up some stuff with the Matrix and Sparky and all of that stuff and Optimus's visions. And we have this little interaction where Optimus kind of explains how the wisdom of the Primes is kept within the Matrix a little bit and how it guides him. And this makes Spike question if they can talk to him, and specifically if his dad can talk to him. And then we learn that the Matrix is not a tool for communication, and it leads to this really nice 2-panel sequence that I really, really like, where we have Spike saying, "I figured," and then in the next panel, he's got his head in his hands, "but I was still hoping." And then we get this great panel of Optimus comforting Spike, although the comfort it's got a little bit of an ominous tone, just because he's using Megatron's arm, and it's hard not to just be a little unsettled by that. But overall, I thought that this was a pretty sweet moment, because it kind of starts off, there's a little bit of Optimus comforting Spike, but then it kind of switches over to Spike comforting Optimus, because Optimus opens up about some of the difficulties that he's having in the face of the Decepticons just kind of tearing into Earth. And him wrestling with his dark side, and we get more of these hints that he did something in the past, and it's something that he's ashamed of, and he's really struggling to see the light. And we get this great moment where Spike points to the sunset, and he makes a comparison here where, you know, the sun's going to go down, but the sun is going to come up again. Like, essentially, that's what he's saying. It's just kind of giving a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of hope to Optimus. Obviously, the scene continues, but I do want to just kind of pause right here because I think there's a clean division between this and then what's coming up next. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on how this whole thing played out, because we mentioned this at the top of the episode. This is, I think, unless I'm mistaken, the first time we've seen these characters kind of have this kind of talk with each other and really like open up to each other and have this pretty emotional and deep talk since the scene with the deer in issue 2. So I don't know. What did you guys think? What were your takeaways here?
I want to hear what Delta has to say, because I know that this is something that
once again being put on the stand. I see how it is. This section for me, and I agree with you, Moon. I do feel like there's a clear cut distinction between this section and what's coming up here with the Autobots. This section in particular is what made me go out and buy this comic in physical format. I have, as I said earlier, I have criticized my worry that Spike and his character arc were kind of being left behind. I felt that almost like he had been forgotten. And I've long since said, I don't need anything to be explained. I just need these characters to have the conversation with each other. And as per usual, the words on display are sometimes very few words, but the art that they're attached to really just show the gravity of this conversation. You know, Spike asking Optimus if his dad talks to him, and Optimus just saying, "Oh, Spike," with his head down, or Spike's head in his hands, like you were talking about. There's such a sense of emotional weight here, and again, gravity. And I love the comparisons between issue number 2, where Optimus and Spike sit down, and Optimus is kind of, you know, giving him this talk of who they are and where they're from, and, you know, they're the forces of good, they're fighting the evil Decepticons, all this stuff, and it ends with that conversation of losing family. And at the time, Spike has got his family, and Optimus has lost so many of his family members. And so I think it's interesting how when Spike says that Carly is the only family that he has left, that Optimus sits down. It's kind of almost a cue to Optimus, hey, we're returning to this conversation the last time we sat down. We have a moment of rest for them to sit down together. And then just the flip of Spike being the one to encourage Optimus. Optimus's section where he's talking about how he's prone to anger, but most importantly, what really broke my heart was where he said, "There's a darkness inside of me. I can't quite tell what it is. No matter how dire our cause has gotten, I have always been able to find light. Where is it now?" That line is just so powerful. You know, Optimus Prime, you know, Space Dad, you know, father to us all, is sitting here saying, "Where's the light?" There's almost no hope. And having Spike, you know, use the sunset and the sunrise as a way to encourage him is just, I don't know if I'll ever be able to fully explain in talking how much this meant to me, other than just rambling about it endlessly.
No, that was well said.
Yeah.
That's what I was eager to hear your thoughts, because I know this is something that we've all been kind of, you know, anticipating this conversation, and I was really wanting to hear what you thought about it. And I mean, no notes on what you said. There's no way I could possibly follow
honestly,
that
same.
up.
That was great.
But how can Spike
But,
walk what a horrible comic. I'm joking.
I mean, it is a question worth asking. Still, I still think like that was a miraculous recovery, but whatever. I'm willing to move on because really that's not at the heart of what this Spike's journey is. But this scene, it was everything that I hoped it would be in anticipating that it was coming, and it was more so that I knew Spike was going to have questions about his dad, right? But to have the scene end with him comforting Optimus, like I was not expecting that at all, and it just speaks to, I'm sure we'll have this conversation once we're done talking about the entire issue, but the contrast between Megatron and Optimus Prime and the role of their allies, soldiers, whatever you want to call them, in their own versions of their leadership between Megatron and Optimus Prime, and to have Spike be the one that is actually comforting Optimus, and then Optimus, you can only assume, is going to gain some strength from that discussion. That's just beautiful. It's just such a beautiful moment between these two characters, and the coloring throughout this. It's just a soft, the skies, the pinks and the purples in the background of the sky. It's just everything about it. It's perfectly presented to have maximum impact, emotional impact, and that's what we want from these comics. That's what I want. It's these moments that really make everything else worth it. Like these connections between Spike and Optimus and other humans and other Transformers and Autobots. But beautiful scene. And oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't. I mean, interrupt you. I wanted to add real quick before we got on that I'm just now even noticing, like you said, the use of these colors, and we've talked about this before, that in this whole conversation, for the most part, when it's kind of Spike's turn to talk, that background is that really soft kind of pastel pink, and Optimus is still done with the sky, or at least the general background. And then when we flip the page, obviously, again into the next section, Optimus and Spike are both on that pastel, which to me is just a signal of that they're kind of on the same page now. They're both holding on to that hope.
Nice catch.
That's a really good catch.
I've been watching Moon's content. I've been watching Carl's content. I look at art now. I got glasses now. I can see it.
But speaking of the art and the choices that are made, not to cut you off, Swizz, I want to hear your thoughts too. But real quick about the that panel where Optimus is comforting Spike with Megatron's arm. The choice of Jorge and like the camera angle here is so telling, and you're supposed to feel uncomfortable. You're supposed to see that it's Megatron's arm, and that there's a panel where all the color drops out. Mm-hmm. It's just white, but behind this too. So it's you're supposed to feel the weight of this arm on Optimus. It's like, yes, he's having this soft conversation, and all of a sudden he comforts him with Megatron's arm, and it's like the stark white in the background. So it's just a subtle reminder that Optimus is still not right, and bad things are coming, and it's just a brilliant choice.
I don't know what to add on. Like, I think you guys covered pretty much everything. One thing I will say is I really love the little Matrix lore that we get on how the Matrix is described in this universe, as it's not a tool for communication, which when it comes to like the G1 cartoon, that is pretty much true. You do get, Rodimus Prime, which I know some people don't like, but you do get him like talking to the other primes, but that's only because he would short circuit himself, basically like, end himself, turn himself offline to talk to the other primes, so it's never been really said that, at least in G1 cartoon, that it's a tool for communication. So it's cool to know that that's kind of carrying over to this. So I just thought that was really cool with the Matrix. And I think this whole sequence, like Delta said, like Carl said, like Moon said, it's very powerful. It's Dad Prime, you know what I mean? It's Robo Dad. It's just, and that sunrise, we see that sunrise in the next sequence, which is just So good.
I also love the fact that they talk about Cybertron having a sunrise.
Yep.
I feel like just from maybe just the collective idea of Cybertron, we always see it in a dark atmosphere. You know, it's perpetually, you know, what we would consider nighttime. And so to have confirmation that there are sunsets and sunrises on Cybertron, I don't think that's something that as Transformers fans we've seen in a while. The last time I can remember it was Beast Machines. Well, I guess Cyberverse also had that too, but it's just nice to hear that is something that exists on Cybertron.
Most definitely. Yeah, this is a great sequence, and this has been an absolutely great discussion. I was really looking forward to talking about this part. And man, you guys hit on some things that I didn't piece together. So, I mean, well done to all of you. The only other thing I would say about this part is that there is kind of this, and I don't know, maybe this is just me over analyzing things, but I feel like there's this reoccurring thing in this series, because usually when you think about the relationship between Transformers and humans, it's, the Transformers are either killing the humans if they're Decepticons, or they're protecting the humans if they're the Autobots. Sometimes you get like the human sidekick that'll like do something. Like I feel like in some of the Michael Bay movies, like Sam got like stuff, like tasks to do. I'm obviously not the best person to talk about that, but it's not really important right now. The thing I'm getting at with this series is that I feel like there's this neat relationship between the Transformers and the humans, where in a way, in their own way, the Transformers kind of need the humans and depend on them. And we've seen that from pretty much the get-go, when we saw Spike and Carly pushing Optimus's gun to him when he was fending off all the Decepticons in the Ark. And then obviously there's the whole stuff with Sparky entering the Matrix. Like, I mean, that's like literally powering up the Autobots. That's about as literal as you can get, with like this lens that I'm looking at, with like the humans kind of giving, like lifting up the Transformers. And this scene in particular, like it immediately calls to mind, I believe it was issue 18, maybe 17, the one where G.I. Joe kidnaps Magnus. That whole thing is preceded by Carly essentially giving Ultra Magnus a pep talk. So I just really love how the humans are integrated into this series. I feel like it's maybe the best like human Transformers integration interactions that we've gotten, certainly in comic form, I would say.
I would say
hot
take.
Yeah, it could be ever. Could be ever. I didn't want to be so bold, but you go for it, Swizz. Yeah, you take that bullet for me.
Yep.
But yeah, I just wanted to add that because I loved this sequence. I think it's definitely going to be a highlight of the entire series when all is said and done for me.
And just in the context of a Transformers comic book, when you talk about the meat of this issue being two characters sitting down looking at the sunset, not immediately what you think of in comic book greatness, you know, but that's what this is. I mean, the heart of what makes Daniel Warren Johnson so darn good is, we've said it many times, is like his ability to convey the emotions that these characters are feeling, and how they connect with each other, and that's just on full display here, and it's absolutely wonderful.
100%. But anyway, we can't linger forever on this part, so we should move along, because there's still some good stuff, some emotional beats to come. Immediately on the next page, we get quite a surprise here. The introduction of Silverbolt, and he is hauling in Jetfire, who he has pulled out of the Pacific Ocean. So
Not forgotten.
not forgotten. Just, it's funny. It all coalesces in this issue. Delta, you were worried that Daniel Warren Johnson forgot about Spike. We got that letter last issue. Was wondering if they forgot about Jetfire. And lo and behold, we return to form with both of those characters. Going to the next page, we see that Silverbolt is not alone, or at least not alone for much longer, because we see Skywarp reactivating the remaining Aerialbots, finally giving the Autobots a combiner of their own. And something I really love about this panel is that I believe that this is the first time we've seen like this kind of reactivating in this way since in the first 6 issues. And what I like about it is it's obviously a different artist. Corona is doing this, but he's doing it in such a way that it's so evocative, and it just captures the feel of the way that Johnson drew this stuff in that first 6 issues. And I just think that it's really impressive, the visual continuity of this action. And it's also great, because we're getting some new characters, and they happen to be a combiner. Beachcomber quotes Top Gun. And then we kind of get a feel for the Aerialbots' personalities. And they're just a bunch of sweethearts, basically. They can see that Optimus Prime is down in the dumps. And something I never thought that I would see in a Transformers comic, but Skydive just comes and hugs Optimus. And then we just kind of get this group hug where, again, we see the people around Optimus kind of rallying to him when he needs support the most. And man, it's touching, it's wholesome, it's unexpected as well. In a series that has in the past gotten dinged for being edgy, I think this dispels that notion, I would say. I mean, not that I ever thought that it was edgy, but stuff like this really, really kind of puts that to rest. But that's not the only thing here. The last thing, we just have, kind of some foreshadowing, setting the stage for whatever's going to play out with the stuff with Thundercracker and Skywarp. We've got what I think is kind of hilarious with Thundercracker, just in the nooks and crannies of Teletran 1 there. No, he's
see him.
Totally invisible.
I like to think that he's standing there. He's standing there chuckling, and Wheeljack's like, "Should we acknowledge him?" And like, no, just let him do it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Let him have his moment. Yeah. Let him have his moment. We're letting him have his moment. He's been through a lot.
But what did you guys think about this section? Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about Thundercracker hiding in the shadows? Like it's a little ridiculous, right? Like not in a bad way, but
No.
I love it. Like I think it's funny,
great.
but
I think it's a good way to not take up a lot of real estate, but it reminds you of it advances Thundercracker's story and Skywarp story in like not a throwaway way, but like by a very effective way. Like, oh yeah, he's still there. That's all. That's all you really need to know, is be reminded that Thundercracker is there. He's observing the Autobots. What he does with this information, who knows? But it's just, I thought that was great. I love that aspect of this scene. But like the heart of this scene, I mean, come on, like that group hug is just, again, like right in the feels, man. Like this is great. It's like Dad Prime. He just got done having a conversation with Spike. He's still kind of feeling the weight of what's going on. He walks in here, and it's like his kids. His kids are there to give him a hug and say, "Hey, we got you. We love you." And it's Daniel Warren Johnson. And I don't know if maybe since he's also writing The Moon is Following Us, that series is going on, which is about parents, a parent's love. So some of that is like sneaking into Transformers as well, just his mindset as a father. But like, come on, that's beautiful, and I love that moment. I don't want to think about what it might mean, because when Danny Warren Johnson shows us something happy, something bad happens. But like right now, let's just enjoy the happy that he's experiencing.
You can stop reading the comic at this point, Carl. It's okay. You can just read that page and be like, "That's it. They live
Group hug, roll credits."
Yeah, I love the faces that Corona is able to draw here when the Aerialbots are being put back together. Some of them kind of look like they're screaming, almost like it's painful to an extent. You're like, oh my goodness. But then you turn the page and all of them coming around Optimus to hug him, their faces, there's just so much joy and happiness in it. That's just, it's done so beautifully. And them having their arms kind of all wrapped around each other. And Optimus still looks pretty sad. His eyes are drawn very small. He's got that almost that dark shadow underneath his eyes, as if he hasn't been sleeping. But these Aerialbots just around him, they're just so happy, and it's just done so masterfully.
They look very youthful. The Aerialbots.
Yeah, the drawstring from that love that they're kind of giving him.
This is Optimus's sunrise. This is what I was talking about. Seeing his Aerialbots, come back online and the group hug. This was his sunrise. This restored the faith that he has for the Autobots. Because, it's looking very dire for the Autobots. I mean, Megatron coming back. I mean, that's something that he brings up in the previous sequence. Just, it's not too long before the Decepticons start going after the Autobots once Megatron, puts them all back in line. So it's only a matter of time. It's a ticking time bomb, especially with him having Megatron's arm. Like it's only a matter of time. So yeah, Prime is just, he's not doing too well, but he sees his kids. His kids tell him, "Hey man, it's gonna be all right." It's very wholesome. It's very great, and I just want to say it's amazing that they drew Slingshot and there's a little shiny effect on his bald head. That's great.
That's the sunrise for Optimus.
Yes.
Yes. That's his sunrise, I was going to say.
So let me ask you, do you guys think that the appearance of the Aerialbots here has any relation to the Age of the Primes Aerialbots figures that are coming out?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think probably, because wasn't there like didn't they, was it a re-release or the Trailbreaker figure that got re-released? Right after like he was introduced in the series. The Beachcomber, Ultra Magnus, those re-releases that are coming.
Yep.
Like, it's all they're going to capitalize wherever they can, and they should. That's the why own this property? Why make toys if you're not going to capitalize on fan interest in them? And that's what this comic is doing. So
I think Hasbro told them, it's like, hey, we got this coming out. Can you like find a way to add in the Aerialbots? And I think they were like, all right, cool. Yeah, no problem.
I wonder at what level or like, because toys take about like 18 months from concept to production and all that. So I wonder how far down the road these conversations are having. And it wouldn't be like Danny Warren Johnson, but like, Kirkman, Skybound, and Hasbro, like what's their like checklist of like, hey, if you could get to these characters, like, or maybe they're just saying, hey, what does your comic roadmap look like? What do you foresee being, but those conversations have to be happening, and they have to be being had between the two parties.
Give us Shredhead, Hasbro, you cowards.
Yeah. Make it happen.
Do it.
I do have to say that if it is like a toy tie-in, which seems likely, I'll agree, I am happy with the way that they're approaching it here, because they feel distinct. Like they're drawing from like the cartoon model, and the Age of the Primes toys are as well. But the Age of the Primes toys have a lot more detail and greebles on them than the cartoon models, which is what Corona is using here. So they feel distinct. It doesn't feel like, there is literally a toy drawn into your comic that is for sale now. I think it kind of helps separate that a little bit. Like, I think of IDW2, like some of those images.
Models.
Yeah, the CAD models, the 5mm ports were on there.
Yes, yeah.
Gosh.
But I mean, you even go back to IDW1, like, around Dark Cybertron when they started, like, Starscream upgrades his body to the Armada look, and Rat Trap shows up, Scoop shows up. It's like, oh, look, the most recent wave of Chug has just shown up in the comic. Like, I feel like that is like a little bit more blatant than this. Like, I feel like the way that they're handling this is similar to the way this kind of speaks to what you mentioned earlier, Delta, about like how like the Energon universe is like this shared universe, and they're not beating us over the head with it. It's not super invasive or distracting. And I think that the Aerialbots appearing here is like that. Like, it's not as jarring as seeing Rat Trap pop out of nowhere in Robots in Disguise.
Yes, yeah. And I think I would agree with you, especially coming from IDW, where there were times where it really did feel like, okay, this character's here because there's a toy to be sold. And I understand that side of the business. I get that. But in this case, seeing the Aerialbots, it made me want to go out and start collecting the new Aerialbot figures. And at no point was I thinking, they got me. This is such a, horrible. It was like, I don't have a really big connection to the Aerialbots, but seeing them here, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go buy those toys. Absolutely. I want them now. I want them. And so I think it was done for me personally. Like you said, it was done in a way that was not overbearing, to the point where it made me feel happy, and it made me appreciate the fact that there are currently figures that you can get for these characters.
If this is corporate manipulation, then
it worked.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I'm totally cool with it. I get it.
Yeah.
I just don't want to know that I'm being manipulated.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the most effective form is you don't know that it's happening. So
I am gonna need.
Don't question the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, I'm gonna need not only the Shredhead toy, but also the Teletrans Skywarp toy. Can please?
Oh man,
no articulation.
It's just like
Swizz. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I just want to go on a small rant. Where's Defensor, man?
Do it.
Where's the Protectobots, man? You introduced Blades, and it sucks because my opinion has changed, obviously, because we saw like the leak of like the Aerialbots and all that, and it's like, oh, why are they doing that? Where's the Protectobots? But seeing this now, it's like, oh, all right, whatever. A nice little wholesome moment with Optimus Prime. But I mean, like, at the same time, though, come on, man. You introduce Blades, and here's the Aerialbots. I want both. I'm just saying. I like Defensor more than Superion, but hey, man, why not both? Maybe we get both in the future. But this was crazy to have the Aerialbots in, and that's why I really do believe that it was a toy marketing moment. Because what a coincidence that these are all coming out
an inside
pre-order.
job.
Yeah, I'm on to you, Skybound.
I see you. But just from a story standpoint, though, the Autobots need some help. I mean, they've needed to bolster their ranks. So I do think at least it's again, if this is a result of a production timeline of toys, at least it makes sense for the story. They needed to bring some more characters online. Why not have a combiner? They just spent how much energy like rescuing humans while watching these two other combiners beat the crap out of each other. So like they recognize, like, if we're going to go up against these guys, even without Megatron, before he even showed up, they would have to have some plan of how to counteract the two Decepticon combiners. So it makes sense that they would do this.
Yeah, it's much better than them being like, whoa, it's Transformers Armada Red Alert. And you're like, okay, all right. I wonder why he's here. Interesting.
Solus Prime is here, guys.
Yes, whoa, it's Solus Prime. Is that animated Ratchet? Oh my god. Anyways.
Yeah, it is interesting that Bruticus and Devastator are, also being sold as we speak, and they're very prominent. But yeah, Swizz, my opinion on Defensor has changed over the years. Like, I used to think he was pretty boring. But now I actually think that he's a really underrated combiner.
Yes.
Like like the alt modes and just like their whole like thing, like being the Protectobots, like what that means, like in terms of being an Autobot. Like, yeah, like Defensor is pretty cool, and I do like Superion. I like Computron as well, but
Computron is really underrated. He's my second favorite Autobot combiner.
Yeah,
he's so awesome.
Yeah, man. Computron might be my favorite. I don't know.
He's a nerd. He's just so analytical. It's so good.
But you have to think that they're coming. I mean, I do wonder if we haven't seen the Stunicons yet, because that toy is already come and gone. I hope that that's not the case. But you have to think that new versions of the Protectobots are coming. I don't know about Computron, less popular. We'll have to see. But you have to think that new versions of the Protectobots are coming, and we will eventually see them. Will it be during Daniel Warren Johnson's run? I'm skeptical, but you never know. I think that, I guess we'll get into that later. I think we're going to see another Titan-sized Autobot, but not a combiner. So,
yes.
But we should probably move towards discussing that. But to do that, first we have to talk about this little page set on Cybertron, where we get this moment between Shredhead and Cliffjumper, and Cliffjumper expresses that he's worried about Carly, and then he just point blank asks Shredhead, is there any part of you that like recognizes me? Like, do you remember me at all? And Shredhead is basically just like, not really, bro. And Cliffjumper is just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. I love that panel where he's just saying okay, because it's just like, it seems like he's just so bummed out. But then, kudos to Shredhead, can correctly read the room and offers up. I don't know. I liked this line a lot. Shredhead says, but even though it's hazy, I know one thing for certain. The sparks that made me who I am are forever connected to you. Which, it's just like, how much heart are we going to get in this issue? And the answer is all of it. But beyond that part, Cliffjumper reveals that Carly is the one who painted the mural on Shredhead's alt form, and that just immediately gets Shredhead amped up, and it's like, let's go save Carly. So obviously this is like setting up something in the future, setting up the return of these characters to Earth, which we're all hoping that is what's going to happen. I think we're all kind of holding our breath a little bit to see if Cliffjumper is going to make it to issue 24 or 25, maybe I should say. But yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that this page was included. It's really short, but unlike some of the previous like short advancing the plot bits, I still think that there's a lot of meat here, a lot of stuff to kind of chew on. What did you guys think? Did you feel similarly, or did you think that, this wasn't, as great compared to the rest of what's in here?
I think it's good. I think I don't see anything wrong with this. I mean, the only thing I see wrong is how is Alita gonna feel about those two going back to Earth? imagine she would not be very happy about those guys wanting to go back to Earth. But I think this is good filler because this issue can be overwhelming, but in a good way because there's so much stuff going on. So I feel like this is like good filler without it being filler, because obviously this is gonna lead into the next issue with this whole sequence of Shredhead and Cliffjumper.
Yeah, I think it's a great one-page kind of transition, even from the Autobots to the Decepticons. You know, we'll go back with Megatron in a moment, but to have this moment with Shredhead and Cliffjumper, you know, this is a type of issue that is it's catching us up to where everybody is. It's advancing the plot on all fronts, and it just is a reminder that there is this group on Cybertron that they're gonna play a part in the events on Earth. How, we don't know, but to me, that this page essentially is telegraphing that's going to happen. That they're going to come back to Earth. But we kind of knew, you know, we don't know anything. But once Cliffjumper was stranded on Cybertron, the question was, okay, well, when's he getting back to Earth? And I feel like it's no secret that I of all the things, of all the loose threads that may or may not get resolved at the end of Danny Warren Johnson's run, I do feel like Carly and Cliffjumper is one that probably there should be some type of closure. You know, it could be an ongoing relationship afterwards, whatever, who knows? But there should be something that we see between them. Because it's been like an their connection has been, you know, running throughout the story all throughout. So yeah, like you said, the meat is there. Like it's a one-page transition, but it's fascinating. Like I love what they're doing, and they only need one page to do it, and it gives us stuff to think about, ask questions on where this is going, and it moves everything forward. So yeah, I thought that was a great addition to the issue. It also the idea that it's Cliffjumper telling Shredhead about Carly, it really does make you question who may or may not be around by issue 25.
Mm-hmm. Well said, both of you. But I suppose we should move on into the final sequence here, which, I mean, is a bit of a snore fest, right? Nothing really happens. Nothing happens here.
I think we can wrap it up.
Such a great issue up until the end. I don't know why they had to end on such a dud. But no, we cut to the Pacific Ocean, where that part of Cybertron that collided with the Earth, or fell into the ocean, I should say, in issue 12. We're finally doing something with that, something substantial. The Decepticons have arrived, and it's where Megatron has a hidden cache of supplies and energon and materials, and we get some foreshadowing for Omega Supreme, who is totally not going to show up as reinforcements for the Autobots in this arc.
Totally not getting a reissue of the toy.
I was just, is he actually, is that on the books, or do we think this is why?
No,
Wait,
you can already pre-order it. Yeah, you can pre-order
really?
Okay.
Wow.
I almost did, but I chose not to. But then I saw him at a toy shop, and I was like, no.
Okay. Well, I think Omega Supreme confirmed before issue 25. So, but so we get this little talk about the Ancient, who is, you know, we can see in the image that it's Omega Supreme. If you zoom in, you can kind of see that he has an Autobot symbol. Not sure that he is supposed to have one yet. But in any case, I'll be happy to see him when he inevitably shows up. But the real big thing here is we see Megatron order Scavenger and Blastoff to bring in Starscream, who has been severed from his tank. So that crossover is over.
No toy for that.
No toy for that.
You can make it yourself, though, probably.
It's been canceled, so you have to make it your own
DIY.
But anyway, this weird looking torture looking chair pops up, and Starscream is thinking what we're all thinking, that this is just going to be some torture session, but it's actually a repair station, and Starscream is fully repaired. He's got his legs back and drops to his knees, praising Megatron, thanking him, promising that he's going to be loyal from here on out. You know, typical Starscream sycophantery. And Megatron responds, "I'm so glad you're feeling better. Now your punishment shall begin." And he just kicks the crap out of Starscream and just starts rocking him. And I'm not surprised by how violent this sequence is, but I'm not surprised, if that makes sense. Like, I was still a little taken aback because we've seen violence in the series before, but I was still just like, damn, he is really going for it. He's really just putting Starscream in his place and just getting revenge for getting shot out of the Ark and being on ice for millions of years. Once Megatron has decided that Starscream has taken enough of a beating, he orders Astrotrain to be brought in, and then he transforms and orders Starscream to basically execute Astrotrain. The catch here is that since Megatron doesn't have his fusion cannon or his right arm, he's not at full strength. So we get this gruesome series of panels where Starscream just shoots Astrotrain over and over and over again until he's just this smoldering wreck. And I love the way that Astrotrain is drawn in like the aftermath of all of this. It reminds me of, I think this is part of why I love Jorge Corona so much, is that sometimes, like not always, and he's definitely got his own style, but sometimes he really reminds me of Jeff Sr. from the Marvel UK and occasional Marvel US comics. And this is like one of those moments where I feel like there's just something about the way Astrotrain is drawn here that feels very Jeff Sr. to me. But after Starscream has finished off Astrotrain, or we assume that he's finished off, Megatron transforms and says, "Prepare yourselves, Autobots. I am coming to make myself whole." And we see his loyal Decepticons in shadow behind him. And we get one of the best to be continueds that I can think of in this series, just because I am so pumped for what is to come, and also just a little horrified about what I just saw. But what about you guys? What did you think about this sequence? Did it stand out to you as being particularly violent or not?
It sucked. It was the worst part of the book. No, this was, so I was saying at the beginning, the starting sequence of the beginning of the issue and this part at the end is my favorite part, because again, Megatron's sending a message to all the Decepticons that this is what happens. This is what happens when you try and take my spot. And I also love like the little pump fakes that go on in these little events, because you know, you see Megatron repair Starscream with this, machine. And at first you could be thinking, oh, okay, so is he just going to, let Starscream go or whatever, and then they're all going to get repaired? No, he's just going to, beat the living snot out of him. And then towards the end of the beating, you see a lot of energon splatter, almost as if Starscream's dead. But no, it's just, he had a lot of energon. Like you see him wiping it off of his face, and then here comes Astrotrain, and once again making Starscream the executioner. It's just so, you want to talk about powerful. This is powerful, and I promise I'm not a Decepticon. I just find this really cool. Like it's just, I've never seen a version of Megatron like this ever, and I really do question how the Autobots are going to deal with this guy, because he doesn't even have his eyes. He doesn't even have the fusion cannon arm, and he's doing all of this. Like it's so good. It's I hands down the best to be continued so far, because you literally see all of them just this, the very dark coloring. And it's what I said at the beginning. The boys are back in town. Megatron is back and the Decepticons are back. And it's good luck to the Autobots. It was so awesome, this whole sequence.
I don't know, Swizz, about that stuff about you not being a Decepticon. I have a feeling if we were to go into your closet there and find a hidden switch where you have like a hidden a secret shrine to.
I got a Megatron shrine.
Yeah,
my
you've
lair.
got your like Decepticon logo and
Yeah.
I love the Combaticons and the Constructicons are it seems almost like they're playing nice now. I'd love to think that off page, they're out there in Seattle fighting, and then Megatron shows up, and they immediately, I think one of you guys already talked about this in one of your videos, disassembled and all just stood there like siblings caught in the midst of a fight, and they're all just standing there like, we weren't doing anything. We're all good. I love you, man. What are you talking about?
They told us to do it.
Yeah, we're just
Starship's fault.
playing. We're just playing.
Yeah, it's like the whole parallel dad mode. The kids are messing around, rouging around, and dad shows up and it's like he's pissed off, and
he's got the belt.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Like Megatron shows up with the belt. Like, yeah, so yeah, they've never felt as the Decepticons have never felt as threatening and scary as they have at this like to be continued moment. But yeah, and this whole sequence, I mean, you don't even have time to catch your breath in the sense of to realize fully what Megatron just did to Starscream. It kind of reminds me of earlier on when there was that like one line kind of throwaway where Starscream used some energon to repair Brawl, and instead of repairing himself, he's stuck as his tank, and he's doing it to kind of fake caring about these guys. He's only just trying to it's his form of leadership, which is not very effective. So he's like pretending to be this caring individual, and Megatron, he doesn't care at all about himself getting repaired. Yet he needs to make a point. He's like, I'm going to use some energon. I'm going to repair this punk, and I'm going to take him to town and show him like, do not mess with me. And it was very personal. Like with the Astrotrain beatdown earlier in the issue felt necessary, but this is something that Megatron wanted to do. Like he made a point to like, let's repair you. You have no excuses, and now I'm going to beat the crap out of you. And that was I loved it. As violent as it is, I love it. I love there's that one panel where like he gets smacked with the energon mace, and it's like a freeze frame in a movie. I think it's like Fight Club is like the movie that like immediately like pops into my brain. But like he gets smacked in the side, and then Starscream's face turns, and it's just like
see the
like
cheeks like
oh.
rippling.
Yeah, rippling. Exactly. That's what it is, and it just I freaking loved it. And then right after that, to bring in Astrotrain, and it's like that's you feel like the punishment was the beatdown, but that was not the punishment. The punishment was like you had Astrotrain on your side, and now here's the punishment. You want to be a leader. This is what happens when you get others involved on your cause at your allies, and he just has them execute Astrotrain. And one of the things I really love about the sequence is the panel where it's Megatron saying it's going to be target practice. Starscream is beat down. His arm is just so relaxed. He's just like nothing left. He's just laying there. And then as soon as Megatron gets in his hand, his arm just like snaps up. Like you see the force that Megatron is controlling his executioner. And I think that's so just well executed in the portrayal of like what's going on. Like it's not Starscream is not wanting to do this. He's not doing it because he's scared of Megatron. It's Megatron controlling him, and that's I think a really brilliant way to show that.
100%. I was actually going to ask if you guys thought that Megatron was using those powers on Starscream here because we didn't get the kind of I don't know what else to call it, like the spider sense almost like effect over Starscream's head that we've seen in the past. But I didn't really pick up on that that body language thing with the arm, Carl. So that was a good catch.
But even right after that, Starscream does like touches his head, kind of like what we've seen happen to in what was it, 13 or 14, whatever the issue was. And then the same thing with Optimus. He touches his head before he like blasts the dam. But another like, excellent body language is the next panel where it's Starscream kind of whipping his arm around to point it at Astrotrain. You can tell because the way that his arm is drawn snapping around, but his face is like it's like a dread on his face. So it's like his facial expression does not match his body language. So he's absolutely in my mind he's being controlled by Megatron to do this.
There's a section. There's a very small section here that I wanted to talk about because it got stuck in my mind, and I've been flipping through the comic because I was telling myself I'm sure that there was something in here about it, and it's a small section right before Megatron transforms, where he's talking to Astrotrain, and he says, "I wanted you to be a part of our new revolution on this beautiful planet." And I just find it so interesting that, we've had Optimus call this planet beautiful. We've even had Soundwave kind of allude to it back, I believe, in Volume 2 when he's with Shockwave, right before Shockwave starts to bleed the ocean. Soundwave saying
looking at the whales.
Yes, yeah. And Shockwave's like, yeah, this place is fascinating. I'm going to kill it. And you're like, oh, man, Shockwave is, horrible person because he doesn't care. And it shocked me when I saw Megatron call it such a beautiful planet. And at first I was like, I don't understand why he would say that. I don't really see Megatron as that type of a character. But I think the more I've sat with it, the more it really makes me think that, and this lines up to what we've seen in the comics with the art, that Cybertron is a really dreadful place to be right now. It looks horrible. It's a junkyard floating in space. And I wonder just in my head what, where the decision for that, obviously a deliberate decision for Megatron to call Earth beautiful, to kind of, at least in my mind, it gives me this idea that even the tyrant Megatron is, missing the beauty of his home, that he's like, man, even this place that I'm probably going to destroy is beautiful. I don't know. I thought it was a really interesting small piece that really caught me off guard.
Yeah, I don't think I even caught that.
I guess
Yeah.
It was more like I was just thinking like, oh, you're not part of our new revolution, and I didn't even catch the beautiful planet part. So
I couldn't find it at first. I thought, did I read it in a solicitation for the next issue? And then I found it, and I thought it is almost kind of buried in this moment where he's talking to Astrotrain, but it kept sticking with me that he really does think that this planet is beautiful. I just thought that's so intriguing, because I think the Megatron we normally get is, I'm gonna rule Earth and kill everybody and bring Cybertron and all this stuff. But it's just, yet again, I feel like another great kind of new twist to the character that doesn't necessarily change who he is at his core, but it kind of adds something that you're like, oh, interesting. This is an interesting addition to the character.
Absolutely.
Like plant some seeds as to what his end goal on Earth might be, because we don't know what. Right now he's just dealing with old grudges.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great point, Carl. It actually even just makes me think that there's more to this Megatron than just being the bad guy. Again, he's got his code of honor. He obviously, we've seen in the Energon universe from 2024 that he feels like the Autobots ruined the chance to save their planet. So he has true intentions to him. So much so that he still finds beauty in things. He's not just he's not like Shockwave, who's just kind of this evil, cold bastard. Pardon my French. Yeah. It's just the bad guy, which we love him for. That Megatron has some more nuance to him.
I love it. It's just planting the seeds for whatever is going to come next. And I love that. it's a marathon, not a sprint. Even though we want to get to what we view as like the finish line of issue 24 is really just still the beginning. So
Right.
I mean, hopefully, I hope this is a long lasting series, which all signs are pointing to that is, it's still a very
seeming
strong
pretty
selling
likely.
comic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sales seem pretty good.
All right, so I think it is about time that we line up in front of the firing line, so to speak, with Starscream and Megatron here, this final page. And we will give our final verdict on this issue. I'm expecting a lot of 0 out of 10s. So who wants to go first?
I will go first. I think everybody probably knows my score already at this point. I talked about what my potential score would be in my own video. I very famously don't like using the 10 score, but I know that's what we use here. And I always am scared giving a score, because then if I change my mind, it's like, oh no, you can't change it. You can, but for me personally, this issue is a 10 out of 10. And
Whoa.
I think in the grand scheme of everything that we have got, I would put this issue in the top 3 of everything that we have gotten. And I'm confident that by the time issue 24 comes out and we've kind of wrapped up the Daniel Warren Johnson story arc, I still believe that this will be within the top 3. I just think that this encapsulates everything that is good about this series, and I think that if anybody is out there going, Transformers is kind of on a down, it's not doing so good, I would give them this and say, you need to read this, because this issue is, for me personally, one of the greatest pieces of Transformers media ever to be released.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I'm going to piggyback, and I don't want to, not to make this a 10 fest, but, it's a 10 for me too. I mean, the things that I've said about previous issues and like the things that it didn't have, this had all of those. So the fact that it has, it's a wonderful study in the different leadership styles of Megatron and Optimus Prime, and we've had these questions like throughout, like, when's Megatron going to show up? What's he all about? And we start getting some of those answers here. And I just, the way that these leaders use their soldiers, the way that they, it's not that like Megatron's not really drawing strength from his soldiers. He's, keeping them aligned through fear. Optimus, the exact opposite. He's drawing on his troops and his allies to give him what he needs to be a leader. So it's not like a one-sided thing. He feels alone, but then they're there to kind of bolster his his strength in to then go tackle the things that he is afraid that he can't do. So it's just such I always say beautiful, but it's a beautiful thing. Like, it's just such a really cool comparison between the two. The heartfelt stuff you get with Spike, the brutality of Megatron, and how he reestablishes his dominance over the Decepticons. The way that through 1 or 2 page sequences we get caught up, and with Ultra Magnus, with the Cliffjumper and Shredhead stuff, on all fronts. It impressed me. It gave me what I. When you say like a 10, the 10 might change like later on when you compare it to the other issues that are left. Who knows? Whatever. But there can be multiple 10s for different reasons. It doesn't have to. Something doesn't have to be better than this to also be a 10. That it's okay. It's okay to, I think, because we're putting arbitrary numbers on it, and it's just it's one chapter of a big story. But yeah, I don't feel like you'll have to go back and revise the numbers, and maybe that'll be a fun exercise to do, to actually make it a fully ranked all the issues. That could give us some fun to.
We gotta do that.
Yeah, I think that would be fun to do. So but yeah, this issue had everything that as month to month readers, I think it gave us so much to chew on, so much to think about, so much to speculate what is coming next. And there are different ways to read comic books, and if a month to month comic can give you that, that's an amazing thing. And it feels like as soon as you read this issue, you're like, okay, crap, I gotta wait a month. And that's comics at its best. So if it's a comics at its best, it's gotta be a 10. So that's my thoughts on that one.
Come on, Swizz. We know you're going to give it like a 3.
Yeah, I mean,
poser.
It's definitely top 3 of all the issues for sure. Yeah, this is really good. I don't think I'm giving this a straight up 9 out of 10.
Hater.
Definitely top 3 of all the issues we've had. I just don't think I would put it at number 2 because I still think number 1 to me is still issue 12. Like that, every time I reread that one, there's so much just going on. Like I can describe issue 12 with one word, and that's sacrifice. And it's so good. But this is great. If I could describe this issue with one word, it's literally just power or powerful. Like it just, you have everything with Optimus, almost losing hope. And then you have Megatron basically destroying any hopes of Starscream's little Decepticon faction. So it's great. Definitely top 2. Number 2 all time for sure.
Okay. So we've got 2 10s and a 9. And for me, I am going to join the 10 club again.
Yeah, baby.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
Last time I gave issue 19 a 10. Maybe a bit of a controversial take, but I really enjoyed issue 19, and in a lot of ways, I think issue 20 is better, but I feel like they're both 10s. I think this speaks to what you were saying, Carl. I think that something can be a 10 for different reasons. And while it is for a lot of different reasons, I think that ultimately it's kind of this comes down to the same reason for me, and it's Megatron. I think that this arc, I kind of said this in my video that I put out, but I am not really satisfied with the way that I articulated it, and I'm struggling to articulate it. But I feel like there is a sense, not necessarily of closure, but something akin to it, or completeness that we've gotten here with the addition of Megatron to the main cast. I think, and it's not that I feel like anything was missing or lacking in the comic up until now. I thought it was a great story, but I just feel like it's on like a whole other level. Like the closest thing I can think of, and I'm just operating on my memory. I don't know how accurate this is, but the first time I watched Transformers Animated, when they finally brought Megatron back and like he got his body back, I feel like that show just like took off and it was just on a different level. And I feel like this is kind of a similar moment for this series. And I also feel like this is Daniel Warren Johnson stepping up and doing what he did for Optimus Prime, and he's doing it for Megatron. I think he's like giving us one of the most interesting and best versions of G1 cartoon Megatron. And they kept us waiting for him for a long time, and he's finally here. And, I was extremely happy with what they were doing in terms of changing his backstory a little bit and like fleshing him out when we saw the flashback story in issue 19. But here we're seeing the Megatron of today, and the Megatron that is going to terrorize the Autobots for the remaining however many issues that this series goes on. Mm-hmm. Like he's just such an amazing villain. And we are just getting started with him. Like, I can't believe how like into his appearance I have been in Volume 4, and I am very eagerly awaiting more. So yeah, it's definitely a 10 out of 10 for me, primarily because of Megatron, although I would be remiss not to mention the scene with Spike and just in general how much heart is in here. Like, you guys have, I think, put it a lot more eloquently than I could throughout this entire conversation. But this issue just does everything that I love about this series extremely well and succeeds with everything that it tries, I think, and exceeds just like off the charts in terms of how well done it is. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for me.
Nice. Welcome to the 10 Club.
I'm an outcast.
Why do you hate this issue so much, Swizz?
Once again, we're looking for a new fourth host.
Damn it.
One thing I just wanted to just to kind of piggyback on what you said about the sense of completeness. Like, I absolutely understand what you're saying. It's like it in some ways, having Megatron arrive now, it makes everything that has happened so far, which has been amazing, feel like a preface. You know, so it's like this was all well and good. They were occupying themselves with Soundwave, Shockwave, Starscream, and then it's like, okay, this is where the story starts, and that's crazy, you know. But you get that feeling with him showing up. So yeah, amazing stuff.
Most definitely. All right, so I think that'll be a wrap for the episode. Thanks again to my wonderful co-hosts for being here to discuss this issue with me. Really enjoyed the discussion. Just kind of blown away by how articulate you all are about this. And so happy to be a part of it. And thanks to all of you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave us your comments, questions, feedback, or anything that you would like to get our thoughts on, and we will do our best to respond to them in subsequent episodes. Be sure to check out our individual channels listed in the description of the video, and thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
See ya.
Later.